Vistaprint, your satisfaction is absolutely guaranteed. So it's never been easier to turn 500 strangers into connections. Just visit Vistaprint.com and use promo code 5353 at checkout. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code 5353.
Tri-City Sports. You keep hearing, and by the way, they said that the union cannot veto the pitch clock. So if Manfred wants it, he'll get it, right? Okay. And that's fine. And I understand pace of play. But as I've said, if you look at the length of American League games, if you see what makes baseball boring, and what makes baseball boring are the 13-7 games. If you realize that low scoring means close game, that baseball fans like a 1-0 game just as much as they like a 10-9 game, it's a different style. It's like, so, let's face it. Movies. You like comedies, right? Don't you like dramas too? Action? Action movies as well? Chicks out there may like of course, being just, chick flicks to me, I couldn't, really comment there. But anyway, point being that, science fiction, there's all kind of different movies. Same thing with baseball games. What we don't like are bad movies. What we don't like are bad games that don't have a tremendous amount of drama. So, that's what the 12-7, 13-7 game is. Anyway, but if you can implement a pitch clock without the approval of the union, what do we hear about the DH? What do we always hear about that? Oh, the union would never allow them to get rid of the DH. Okay, here's how you do it. First of all, I don't understand how you can get with the pitch clock in without union approval, but the union somehow is vetoing, the number one rule that has given us those lopsided games, a lack of strategy, the pitch count. And yes, the DH gave us the pitch count because, well, if he's got 100 pitches, that sounds like a nice round number. We've got to take him out then. There wasn't the natural progression of taking a relief pitcher, of taking a starting pitcher out because, well, it's the seventh inning. We've got a 3-3 tie, and I need to start a rally. Here's how Commissioner Billson handles that. You go to the union, you say, I'll put 2 extra players on the roster. They're pinch hitters, they're utility infielder. We're now having, 15 pitchers on a roster? I know that I'm exaggerating there, but no, they're 12 or 13. So maybe it is time to expand the roster. Here's a negotiation point. And then you have more jobs. And Major League Baseball player is a very highly paid job. Whether you're Clayton Kershaw making $35 million a year to pitch 6 innings a week, or you're a utility infielder, probably getting more than 6 at-bats a week when you think about it. And, that's so easy to me. That, the union would never allow it. They're not allowing the pitch clock, yet, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Then we have, and this is where baseball this story came out over the weekend. I don't know how many people said, Kenley Jansen, closer for the Dodgers, had a fan fest with the Dodgers out in LA, Dodger Stadium. And according to Los Angeles Times writer Bill Shaken, Jansen actually broached the idea of, are you ready for this? A players' strike. Here is the idea. Well, we might have to address this so you don't have a lot of Miami Marlins. In other words, the Players Union wants to go on strike because the Miami Marlins don't want to be like what the Braves did last year and sign a veteran who isn't worth it anymore do a $10 million contract, or $12 million as the case may be. They don't want to do that. They'd rather get productivity from their farm system and somebody who doesn't throw up 86-mile-an-hour pus. And they'd rather not pay that pitcher so lazy to not even stay in shape or learn English despite playing in America for 20 years, in the case of Bartolo Colon. They'd rather not pay him multi-million dollars. That would be a reason to go on strike. Really. Now, there is the players supposedly saying the excruciating slow pace of the offseason. By the way, it would seem to me that, the Players Union does not represent minor leaguers, which is why minor leaguers, especially in the independent minors, but the minor leaguers make absolutely no money. I mean, they make $600 a month. And the idea is you get your money in your bonus. Okay, that's the idea. Now, if you're an independent league ball player, you're up creek without a paddle. You're making $600 a month. How can that happen? That's less than minimum wage. Seasonal employment in the entertainment industry can actually be paid less than minimum wage. It's a law that goes back to the 30s. It shouldn't be on the books. They should repeal it. I need to talk to a congressman who is big on labor issues about that, but nevertheless. Now, Jansen did walk back the comments, saying it's something he should first discuss with the union. You think? Now, there's talk that there's a pool of 100-plus unsigned free agents, one of which was at the State of the Union address, which I'll tell you about in a second. The idea is that the closest anybody would go on strike in baseball, well, would just absolutely kill it, would be 2021. That's when the collective bargaining agreement is set to expire. While there's, the thing is here, and this is baseball, a lot of people I would hear, they'd talk about, hockey, they shot themselves in the foot when they had a strike that canceled the entire season. Actually, they didn't. I was covering hockey at the time. Hockey fans, you know what they did? They watched other forms of hockey. They watched their high schools. They watched college. They watched minor league hockey. They followed that. They watched amateur hockey. They watched international competition. That's what they did. And the NHL, and by the way, hockey fans, which are just the most passionate, hockey fans probably like their sport more than fans of any other sport like their sport. They stuck with it because now there's more of a competitive balance. That's what the players' strike, or that's what the strike did, or was it a lockout, actually, in hockey? I forget if it's a lockout. The player stoppage, the season stop, the loss of a season. And it also gave us, they took out the red line. They took out, they started having the shootout after that. It worked out pretty well because it added to competitive balance. Baseball strikes have actually worked against competitive balance. If you really want to go into, and they're talking about doing away with competitive balance, saying that a team like the and by the way, I'm not a big fan of what the Marlins are doing. Not by any means. And I find it very interesting that their new owner is a former player and is doing this. So do you see where a former union member, and he liquidates his team, but then you have contemporary players saying, what is he doing there? All I'm saying is that the idea that, they're not signing free agents, they're not improving their team. Really? No. I think the idea here is, we don't need Bartolo Colon to improve the Miami Marlins or the Pittsburgh Pirates or whoever else. Baseball needs a salary cap. By the way, one of the 18 undeniable truths of sports that Billson has written, salary caps do not limit an athlete's earning potential. Not in the least bit. An athlete can go out and do endorsements, card shows. He can mow lawns for all I care. It does not cap his earning potential. Now then, one player that has not been signed, who is an eligible free agent, and it might just be because he's going to be 39 next year, and he's coming off a season in which he didn't hit 230, is Jason Worth. Jason Worth is one of those 100 unsigned free agents, along with, Bartolo Colon, and guys who it's really time to move on. Interestingly, though enough, Jason Worth has moved on, and he's moved on to a very interesting position. Actually, he was at the State of the Union address last night. He was the guest of Rodney Davis, who is a congressman, a representative from Illinois. Worth now lives in Illinois. He used to play for the Tennessee Smokies. Worth, of course, you remember Nationals last year. Before that, he played for the Phillies. But Jason Worth he attended the State of the Union address as the guest of the Congressman Rodney Davis out of Illinois, because Worth has an organic farm in Davis's district. Yes! Jason Worth making the transition from Major League Baseball player to organic farmer. And guess what he did? He said he was really inspired by the State of the Union address, did Worth. And he has actually, this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to become a farmer. Worth has been lobbying for organic farmers in December, and that's how he met Rodney Davis. So that's the case with that. And yeah, kind of interesting, isn't it? But I'll tell you what, instead of complaining about baseball, maybe we ought to go on strike because Jason Worth isn't signed, he's actually moved on. He's an organic farmer, getting some decent publicity out of it. What do you think about that? When we come back, Max Kellerman has gone off the deep end. I'll be telling you about how so, as political correctness has absolutely run amok in sports. It's Tri-City Sports Now.
In a world of salt and